11 points outside of the playoff line. The Seattle Kraken are looking towards perhaps the future, but will they also look to pay back VGK in tonight's game when they lost the recent battle late in the contest that Marcia saw gold to tie up the game? We'll talk about that. It's a must-win game again for the Vegas Golden Knights. Back with more right after this on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We appreciate you doing so. Find us wherever you get your podcast. And please subscribe to the Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. We are brought to you today by Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Use the promo code Locked On for $20 off of your first purchase. The Golden Knights literally knocked the Seattle Kraken out of the playoff picture entirely 9 days ago. The Kraken were just, I think, 6 points back, right, Chris? At that point, they were looking towards trying to close that gap with VGK, 6, 7 points back, whatever. But now they're 11 points back, and time is running out. The Kraken come into T-Mobile Arena tonight, losers of 5 straight. Seattle has been shuffling its lineup. They are looking ahead to next season to see what works, what doesn't. But this still has to be a bitter team, bitter about the loss to VGK earlier this month. Is Seattle still a dangerous team when they come calling at T-Mobile tonight?
I think every team is dangerous right now because of what's on the line for the Golden Knights. As far as the Kraken themselves, I mean, like you said, 5 losses in a row. One of those is the overtime game against the Golden Knights last week. And, you know, teams like this need to find motivation to get up right now. You look at what the Sharks have done. The Sharks basically knocked the Golden Knights out of the playoffs a couple of years ago when they had all their injuries. So that's what teams like this are certainly looking to do, is just kind of disrupt that chain. And now you have another thing. You have your younger players and your veterans looking to make that last impression, right? The younger players looking to earn, you know, a new role with the team next year or the current team. And then maybe there could be some expiring contracts and such. And, you know, people kind of remember what they did down the stretch when it comes time for that contract negotiation, kind of like that Jonathan Marchessault guy who still remains without a contract as of July 1st at 9 a.m. local Vegas time. So that's a couple of things the Golden Knights need to watch out for. But at the end of the day, it's the Golden Knights against themselves. If the Golden Knights can do every friggin' single narrative that we've heard for the last 3 weeks right, everything will be fine. But that's not what we've been seeing.
I'm going to look in the mirror myself. Okay, is Dave Haxtell coaching now for his job? You know, a season ago, the way things go in the NHL, right? A season ago, they come to within 1 game to the Kraken of the Western Conference Final, and now they're on the outside looking in.
I don't know what the listen, every team wants to win the Stanley Cup, and that's what the goal is, blah, 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 blah. And then there's the realistic goals and things like that the owner and general manager and whoever is in charge of measuring success. Nice little corporate comment right there. Whatever success looks like at the end of the day, are the Kraken getting there? And I don't know what that answer honestly is. I mean, this is how an expansion team is a little more, even they're still exceeding expectations for what a regular expansion team would do, because before the Vegas Golden Knights, expansion teams, they struggle for, 3, 4, 5, 6 years as they're developing their talent pipeline and things like that. They're usually not that aggressive when it comes to free agency and trades, and they just kind of build nice and slowly. So Kraken had a standard first expansion season, didn't even sniff the playoffs, and all of a sudden the second season they're within 1 goal of going to overtime to get into the Western Conference Final. And then this year, the team did have a nice little run right around the outdoor classic, and they even had a little thing going right before then. And then the Golden Knights obviously put them in a rough spot. So, long story. The question was: is Hackstall coaching for his job? And I think whatever the plan for Hackstall is still in progress. Is Hackstall the long-term person who the Kraken ownership expect to be there when the team is a Stanley Cup contender? That's probably the bigger question. So I don't think Hackstall is coaching for his job. I think he's safe for now until whoever makes that decision really feels the Kraken are ready to take that next step. And then they have to decide if Hackstall is the man. And decisions like that are probably already made before he even got hired, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, maybe it's a 3-year plan for him and just trying to develop some of the younger players.
Or 5,
Goaltending,
6, whatever. But yeah.
yeah, and goaltending has not been really good of late. And Joey Decord, who was their go-to, the most consistent, he was chased in that loss to Buffalo the other night in the 6-2 loss. We will also see some line shuffling. We talked about this in our preview before the two teams played. They're trying to figure out what to do with Jared McCann. Okay, do they move him to center? Does he stay on the wing? They have all sorts of issues there, and we will see different lines mashed up tonight for Seattle. And we know what that does for VGK. It leads to a lot of inconsistencies there, especially on the offensive end.
It leads to inconsistencies until you figure it out. That's one thing Cassidy has always been pretty good at, is having the right read on the Golden Knights to move players around and such. I've questioned his line combinations, I think, once in his entire tenure in Vegas, and that was last season. It was actually back-to-back games against Seattle and Vancouver where the team didn't do well in one game. And long story longer, Cassidy does a pretty good job at that. Does Hackstall? I don't know. And does Hackstall have the right players to put in the right places? You're mentioning they're having trouble deciding what to do. I mean, if the leading scorer on your team doesn't have the identity of being in a consistent position in your lineup, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's an immediate problem right there. And I don't know how McCann handles going up and back from center to wing and such, but Stevenson struggles. Nick Waugh struggles. Stevenson doing a lot better. I want to make sure I'm very clear about that. But from a totality perspective, players definitely struggle with that. And when it's your leading point getter that you're doing that with, maybe you should be looking somewhere else in the lineup and just leave your leading scorer alone.
Jonathan Marchessault, remember his heroics in the first meeting there, the last one, I should say, in which VGK ties the game with 16.3 to go in the contest. Jack Eichel with the finishing touches. VGK also scored its second 6-on-5 goal of the season. That was the Marchessault goal earlier in the season, the Ottawa game, in which Stevenson scored in 6-on-5. Alex Pietrangelo, still a game time decision. They're going to see how he skates around in the morning skate, and then perhaps he will play. How much did they miss Pietrangelo in that lineup in the last game?
I think Haig played a good game. I think I'll start by giving credit to Haig, handling the benching well, and then coming back and playing a good game. He got beat on that icing at the end, but there's a lot of things that went wrong in that play. Aiden Hill could have played the puck, and we could do this for a while. But Pietrangelo, he's going to get between 21 and 25 minutes in the game. If the Golden Knights find themselves on the penalty kill a lot, he'll get a lot closer to that 25-minute marker, which he's very comfortable doing. So we'll see how that side of it turns out. If there is one lineup thing that I questioned, Dorofeev was out in Tuesday's game, but Cassidy made the comment that Dorofeev got a little banged up from something that happened against in the New Jersey game on Sunday. But Cassidy also mentioned it was the plan to get Cotter into Tuesday's game no matter what.
Right.
That's a question for me. I mean,
they still can't
Dorofeev
figure out
playing,
that position between those two. They can't.
They can't figure out Paul Cotter, I think, is the better way to say that.
Okay.
You know who Dorofeev is. Know who Dorofeev is. Dorofeev is a scorer, and he's developing the responsibility needed to be an everyday NHL player. Paul Cotter, in my opinion, is predictable. he's going to go directly at you. And, he's going to try and pull off that dangle between the legs, which he tried to do on Tuesday night again. And, he's got to figure out, he's got to know when just to throw the puck at the net a little bit quicker or put that puck in the corner and go and chase it. But Connor's game is starting to become a little bit predictable, which is why now the second season in a row, he plays the lion's share of the regular season and finds himself on the bubble of becoming a daily scratch, especially as the games get more intense and the playoffs get closer. You got to wonder how a player like Paul Cotter handles that. Now, this is 2 years in a row where he's basically on the outside looking into the lineup, especially when Hurdle comes in, which is going to push him probably down even another notch.
Okay. Hutton also got a, minor cut, according to Cassidy, in the last game. We'll have to see if he's back in the lineup. He should be. He doesn't say it's anything major. 8 games in 2 weeks for VGK. Wow. Oh my goodness. Now
we know Logan's going tonight. We know Logan's going tonight. I don't know if we've addressed that or not yet. Yeah. Oh yeah. Coach mentioned, no, Cassidy mentioned yesterday that it's Logan tonight. He didn't waste any time. That tells you right there that Cassidy is and maybe even higher than Cassidy is kind of feeling the pressure, so to speak. And Cassidy was complimentary of Hill in the sense that his metrics for periods 1 and 2 as of late are pretty good, and period
right.
3 they're not very good.
Right. But yeah, it was kind of funny because he keeps going back. But that 4th goal, never should have happened the other night. Like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the
him.
honesty of that's the brutality of Coach Cassidy sometimes, and his honesty, if you will, in the post-game pressers. And that's also why we appreciate him. He gives it to you on both sides, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise. And, it's good having a coach that really gives the fans and the media a pretty good look under the hood. I don't know if we really got that with DeBoer. I mean, everything was great under DeBoer. And then with Gallant was the very typical veteran head coach who kept things close to the vest and protected the players really well. And so we like Cassidy. We hope Cassidy's going to be here for a long time. We hope.
Coming up next, Bruce Cassidy says VGK is getting farther away from poor pockets of play, and they are getting better at getting back to their identity and who they are. We'll talk about that when we return right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. And Gametime has deals on tickets right up until the start of the event. And even an hour after it starts, it's the place to find last-minute seats. With zone deals, you pick the section. Gametime will pick the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Gametime guarantee, it means that you will always get the best price. So if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app today. Create an account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use the redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen. Tomorrow, of course, line up your comments on WTF, What the Friday. Will I get any comments for the Jester hat yesterday on the show? Do you think?
Honestly, I think people see the Jester hat whether you're wearing it or not.
Don't forget Saturdays, we've got the Chris times Chris show with Chris and Chris Jr.
Right by it. I didn't even
I heard it. Yeah. I was going to talk about a call I was on the other day where people heard me but did not hear me. So that's where I got that attitude from. The Chris and Chris show is the YouTube exclusive Saturday mornings, Fridays, WTF. Okay, so is Bill Foley
You good over there? You good?
Yeah. Is Bill Foley perhaps petitioning the league now to make games only 2 periods long? I think he could change this.
I'm sure a BLT comment's coming from you, Tony. I'm sure there's a BLT comment somewhere buried in this.
Okay, we could throw that in there as well. But Cassidy, right? We like Cassidy. We appreciate his transparency.
Well, Tony's the one
But
teeing it up right here before he takes a
but of
shot. Okay, this is
late,
interesting.
no, but of late, something's up with him? Is he becoming a made man too? Okay, so he says that VGK has played pretty well coming out of the All-Star break. And I've
No,
counted like what? 4 to 5 games where opponents have scored 3 or more goals in the third period. Is VGK getting back to its game? What game are they getting back to?
there's pockets of it. I will definitely concede that we are getting some glimpses of things starting to come together. It's important to acknowledge that the lineup has been a revolving door, and now through that revolving door come two new players, one of which who's fit like a glove in Hannafin, and the other one in Mantha, who I think is still trying to carve out his role with the team. Honestly, I think I mean we're going about still a good month from now down the road possibly, but when Hurdle and Mark Stone are back in the picture, if Mark Stone's back in the picture, Hannafin as the fourth line right wing replacing Colasar, I think that's the best place for him, honestly. And no knock on Colasar, but Mantha, I think is just better fit for that. Mantha as the second line right winger, I don't know if that's the best spot for him. But back to the comment, or back to the topic. I mean, starting with the Tampa game. So TV was very high on the Golden Knights' effort on Tuesday nights. Gary Lawless quoted saying the formula was there for a win. You hold the Tampa Bay Lightning to 20 shots on goal, and the Golden Knights score 3 times. You think you're going to win that game more times than you're going to lose. And okay, fine. But you look at the goals and the breakdowns that happened. Simple puck battle, Chandler Stevenson on the boards. Shea Theodore is just a statue on the blue line and can't get his legs moving to get back to stop basically a 2-on-0 on the power play. Jack Eichel can't possess the puck on the board. So just one play has all these just crazy breakdowns. And that's just one very small example. You look at the Detroit game where the Golden Knights were getting a lot to the net, but they couldn't pull ahead in the game. Same thing happened against the Devils, right? The Devils just hung out in that game. They hung out. And the Golden Knights, and I think that was probably a much better game, even though Shea Theodore had some of the same issues going on. I think the Devils game is the best example of what you hope to see from the Golden Knights in a 60-minute consistent basis, less the part where they gave up a third period goal, but that's going to happen. That's okay. Those things are going to happen. Logan had a real strong game that day, which was also very nice to see. But we're talking about the Golden Knights' strongest game here against the New Jersey Devils team on the outside of the playoffs looking in, playing back-to-back games, playing an early game, a local 12:30 Vegas start, and the Golden Knights can barely scrape by them. So, I mean, you got to go back to that game like against the Leafs, Tony, or the game against the Oilers or one of the Predators game. Like, you got to go back a long ways to find out, to see where the Golden Knights really had a solid 60-minute effort with the smallest number of imperfections.
Right.
That's the concern.
And against teams that are legitimate contenders, I'm talking about as well. Like, they're not, what are they doing against well, they don't play any down the stretch because the schedule's rigged. And Seattle, by the way.
About that. We'll see about
Seattle
that.
now. Seattle, back-to-back coming up. Well, at least they play here on the front end, so they'll have some legs. It's not like they're going to try to job them and send them to Arizona first, but they'll be in the midst of a back-to-back. Those pockets of play, those poor pockets of play have really, really hurt VGK here down the stretch, though. I mean, you're talking about the good pockets. You were talking about the hot pockets, I think. I'm talking about
the same thing. That's so funny.
I know. Yeah. We're hanging out too much here on the podcast. But those pockets of poor play have really come back. They've been detrimental to VGK moving up in the standings.
One of the issues when a team is playing well, really good things happen all the time. You create your own luck. Like the teams aren't where they are. No. God, okay, I'm not saying puck luck at all.
Okay.
But teams get to where they are in the standings by playing well, which as a result does lead to better luck in all facets of the game. When you're playing poor, it just makes these mistakes that much bigger. And I mean, I think my narrative right now is the ultra razor thin. I've said this a million times on Twitter lately, but the razor thin margin of victory, or margin between winning and losing. And it's not about doing the big things right when the Golden Knights are on the ice, but it's about these little things that are happening that lead to these scoring chances. About, going back to Cassidy day one, winning those puck battles, winning those races. The Golden Knights haven't been doing a good job of that, right? I mean, Chandler Stevenson loses a puck battle, Nick Hague loses a race. Golden Knights lose a very important game against the Lightning, in a game where they probably, you could have made a case that for a better outcome. No, not really, but at least they had a shot to win that game. And when things like this are happening, early in the season, they were playing much better. And when they were at their best, when they were not at their best, they were winning. And this is something that I did ask Cassidy about maybe about 4 weeks or so ago in one of the games. Maybe the Preds, I forgot what game it was, but the question was, early in the season, the Golden Knights were winning despite, playing, great hockey at times. Now, does it feel like the team needs to play perfect hockey just to have a chance in games? And Cassidy understood the question. He walked it back a little bit, felt the Golden Knights didn't need to be perfect, but that you need to be a lot better to give yourself that shot to win. And, Cassidy thinks the Golden Knights are playing better. I don't see it. I see some small pockets. I don't see it from a big global perspective. If the only thing I can answer that question is, are the Golden Knights playing better? Yes or no? The answer is no. The answer is no.
I don't feel it.
Question.
I feel like at times it's a big hype job, and they're trying to keep the fans interested by saying that they're playing well and playing better. Yes, we have seen some glimpses. Yeah, we've seen some glimpses, right? But
agree with that.
that this team is at its best when they're constantly attacking. And I go back to when they could definitely counter, especially go back even as far as season one, where an opponent would score a goal, VGK counters really fast to show that.
Great take.
To show that they were really into the game and that they were just buzzing, right? And they would always have that fight. I'm not seeing that fight coming back here for VGK of late. We're just being honest with you. Don't at me. No, definitely at me. You could have added me yesterday because of the Jester hat too. A lot more.
Some of my earliest sports memories are the Chicago Bulls and that great Bulls run of, from 91 basically to 98. Grew up outside of Chicago, big Bulls fan, not really anymore, but was definitely a big Bulls fan. And my dad always pointed something great out about the Bulls. The first half, they would usually, they might be losing after the first half, but they'd be in the game. Then the third quarter comes and just the team found this extra gear and they were able to finish every opponent off. I mean, I know Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, those guys are pretty good. So that has something to do with it. But point being is you still have to have the right coaching. You still got to have all the right pieces in place and, that killer instinct type of thing and that confidence. And, what's that Golden Knights locker room like going into the third period of a tied game, regardless of who the goalie is in nets? Regardless, right. Aiden Hill, right. I think is a bigger concern.
And what's going on with the third period? Yeah, what's going on in the third period that they're having so many breakdowns? You can sugarcoat this as much as you want. Just look at those numbers post All-Star break. In the third period, they're getting crushed. They're giving up 3 and 4. They're giving up 4 goals to Buffalo, for crying out loud.
Bingo.
So. Yep. Coming up next, we've got our locks of the night and our predictions. You don't want to miss it. Of course, that's a hype job there. Stay with us. We'll be back with more right after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always have and find exactly what you are looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available for U.S. customers. We are back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast, of course. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Locked On Golden Knights. Tomorrow's our WTF edition, and we hope that you are a part of that. Some of the comments are they're the best here. I swear we've definitely been lucky with the comments there on YouTube and, of course, on Twitter, X. And please continue those. And Saturdays, the Chris and Chris Show, the YouTube exclusive. Early WTF, Dodgers game blacked out in Las Vegas. WTF.
They're always blacked out here, I thought.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like the opening week of Major League Baseball. You can't even watch a stinking game because it's blacked out in our area.
It's not national TV because it's like a special game.
I don't know where in the world it is. I just couldn't find it. I started to listen. Oh, my goodness. I started to listen on the Odyssey app to the station 93 something, whatever, 7, whatever it is, the Fan in San Diego, listening to the broadcast because I just had enough. Speaking of having enough, it is a must-win game again tonight for the VGK, especially since the Kings won 6-0 6-0 was the final over the Minnesota Wild. So I will go with my prediction first. VGK in a must-win game has got to win. I'm going to take VGK 4-2, and I'm going with Mantha and Hannafin, the newbies, to score goals tonight. I think they're going to step up big. It's going to be a heavy game. I think there's going to be not a lot of space through the neutral zone. We'll just have to see which Seattle team shows up. And I think where they went a little bit off track there for Seattle was by starting Grubauer the last meeting against VGK against the hot hand and Joey Decord for no reason. You had the time, right? It wasn't like a back-to-back situation, and Grubauer did not play particularly well, and Decord was the hot goalie, but who knows now? They're falling apart perhaps there in Seattle. I'm going to go 4-2 VGK.
Hutton and Nick Waugh. I just got a hunch about Hutton. Feels like
is Huddy going to be playing?
Oh, he's fine. He's fine.
Oh,
unless only way they may not play him is if they decide to get Haig back in there again. Which the way Hutton played, that would be not a good decision. But I'm not the coach, so I can just question it, I guess. So Hutton and Nick Waugh, I think, will have an effect on the outcome of the game. Game's going to be 0-0 after 1 period. The game's going to be 0-0 after 2 periods.
6 goals in the 3rd period.
Seattle's going to score the first goal of the game. It's not going to be a good goal. It's going to be just a weird goal where Cassidy's not going to be happy. He's going to start pacing the bench. And then Jonathan Marchessault is going to commit like a stick foul in the offensive zone. Cassidy's not going to like the call. Cassidy is going to get thrown out of his first game as a Golden Knight coach.
Now this would be
which
fun.
Is going to rally the Golden Knights to a 4-1 victory.
4-1.
Mayhem in the 3rd period. All 5 goals in the 3rd period, and a Cassidy ejection is on my bingo card for tonight's game.
Now that would be terrific. Make sure you put that, of course, on our tweet later. And I'm trying to. Okay, so is it Hanny? What's he calling? It's just ridiculous. Just say the players' names for crying out loud. WTT, the Thursday? What is Mantha's nickname? Manty?
Ant-Man.
I call
him Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. I call him.
I don't think he calls him Ant-Man, but I think he has an ant as his emoji.
Yeah, praying Mantha for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Hanny. I think it was Hanny yesterday, and it took me a minute on Huddy. I was like, Huddy. Okay, we got it. Coming up tomorrow, WTF, more comments on the way, of course, more nicknames for Golly. You Golly. For Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Take care.